There's something inherently wrong with the most recent film adaptations of Beauty and the Beast. And no, I'm not talking about Stockholm Syndrome or bestiality, because let's be honest, those two subjects have been discussed to death. I want to focus on why Beauty and the Beast is such an enduring story, and why the two most famous of these adaptations miss the point of the story. And it all stems from the fate of one character. Gaston! In the new live-action movie, many things are changed or added to the animated classic. An answer to what happened to Belle's mother. An explanation of why no one remembers the castle. Maurice is an artist rather than an inventor, for some reason. Just to go off topic for a second, it feels like they did this so Maurice could be painting Belle and the Beast in the end, so they could zoom out and see what he's painting, just like how in the animated film it ended on the changed stained glass window. However, the final shot is Stanley Tucci and Audra McDonald. It's not that I don't love these two actors, but why were they the last shot of this movie? Did they not commission a painting in time so they couldn't get the shot? Did Emma Watson and Dan Stevens leave the set and the director realized they hadn't shot the last shot, so they improvised? Did they really not realize what they had? This leads me to another moment, which was clearly placed in the movie for a reason, but which never came to fruition. Spoiler warning for the new film if you haven't seen it. The new film includes the Enchantress as a constant presence. She's in disguise as a beggar woman in the town for the whole film. It's also heavily implied throughout the movie that she's following Gaston. She's constantly in scenes with Gaston and clearly seems to be watching him. I was really excited because it seemed obvious to me that she was eyeing him for her next victim, or benefactor if you choose to see it that way, and I do. Gaston was going to be cursed the same way the Beast was, thus showing that everyone deserves a second chance and completing the cycle of the story. The Enchantress even has a shot during the battle where she's making her way to where the main three are having their confrontation. However, then Gaston died, off-screen just like the animated one, and they simply use the Enchantress to heal the Beast so they can do a classic fake-out with the rose. Seriously though, the scene was pretty cheap. We know that the Beast doesn't die, so all of this over-emotional stuff is kind of cheating. You only brought in the Enchantress so you could have your cake and eat it too. But why does any of this matter? Why does it matter that both Disney adaptations killed off one of its most unlikable villains instead of cursing him? Well, I submit that by killing off Gaston instead of offering him the same chance that the Beast had, both these adaptations actually go against the theme of Beauty and the Beast. I would like to make a disclaimer before I get into this argument. I am not defending Gaston, nor trying to say that he is actually misunderstood, as people have said about a host of other villains. Gaston is a very flawed and bad fictional person who commits terrible acts. However, what I'm asking is, did he deserve to die? Well, let's start out with the history of this character and Beauty and the Beast as a whole. We should know what the theme of Beauty and the Beast is, so I can explain how Gaston's fate goes against this theme. The original French fairy tale written by Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve.
Je m'appelle Claude.
Je te coupe plow.
Looks a bit unrecognizable to those who are fans of the animated film. It draws more from the story of Joseph actually in the Bible for the Beast's backstory, with a fairy cursing him because he refuses to sleep with her, and Beauty as the daughter of a good fairy herself. The version that we are all familiar with is actually the pared down version written by Jean-Marie Le Prince de Beaumont.
Je m'appelle Claude.
Je t'appelle Lou.
And Andrew Lang. Both versions, however, end with the Beauty character confessing her love for the Beast and living happily ever after. The first introduction of a male antagonist / suitor for Beauty was actually in the 1946 French film La Belle et la Bête.
Je m'appelle Claude.
Je te flee.
Oh mon Dieu.
Oh, de fouf.
Avenot is Beauty's new suitor, and interestingly enough, the same actor, Jean Marais,
You're not speaking French!
The same actor with the name on the screen plays both the Beast and Avenot.
I have to go before I put your head through a wall. No.
This certainly sets up the idea that the two suitors are meant to be connected in the story. You are supposed to see them as linked. However, in the end of this adaptation, the suitor is actually cursed to be a beast himself, whereas the beast reverts back to his former self, a prince. The curse is transferred. Despite minor story differences, all these adaptations embody the idea of Beauty and the Beast being first and foremost a story about redemption. It's about finding the good in people that can be buried far below their surface. Belle and Beast are such a beloved couple because their story shows us that beauty isn't necessarily skin deep. Or is it beauty is only skin deep? I can never get it straight. It's not on the surface is what I'm getting at. The story teaches young and old alike to look beyond the physical to the good in someone's soul. However, I believe it also touches our hearts because we see that by showing kindness to someone, the worst types of people can change. Love and friendship, when given freely, can and does with regularity make people better. Just look at prisons with animal care programs. The second chance through programs and kindness aid in rehabilitation and redemption, even for terrible human beings. But not for Gaston, according to the 1991 and 2017 film. Gaston is boorish, brainless, and Belle would certainly hate being
Madame Gaston.
However, he also serves a very important function in the new adaptations. Wikipedia, and yes, I know I shouldn't be using this as a source, but I'm making a broader point, states, Gaston serves as a foil personality to the Beast, who was once as vain as Gaston prior to his transformation. However, he is fiendish and lacking Beast's capability for compassion. The male leads are clearly linked, as with the 1946 film. So why are the endings to these two films so different? And why do I believe the 1946 film's ending is a better ending? Well, the first reason that the 1946 ending is more in line with Beauty and the Beast theme is because the literary device is being used correctly. You see, Gaston isn't actually a foil character. The definition of foil is as follows. In fiction, a foil is a character who contrasts with another character, usually the protagonist, in order to highlight particular qualities of the other character. When talking in jewelry terms, it's a leaf of bright metal that highlights the brilliance of a jewel. An example of this dynamic in stories would be the angry hothead Hotspur in Henry IV Part 1 is the foil to the cool and calculating Prince Hal. If you look at these characters as foils, it makes sense that Gaston would die and the Beast would be redeemed. However, I would say the closer literary term to use for Gaston and the Beast is that they are mirror characters. Mirror characters are used for a similar purpose to foil characters. However, where foils oppose each other, mirror characters are usually used to highlight the similarities between the characters. They tend to share several qualities and highlight each other's traits. Common mirror characters embark on parallel plots, sometimes to achieve a single goal, which tests them and highlights their traits in different ways. An example of this would be Frodo and Gollum from The Lord of the Rings. Foils tend to be different, mirrors tend to be similar. But what you're saying is, Emma, Gaston is a foil because the Beast is actually kind and gentle beneath his monstrous appearance, whereas Gaston is monstrous beneath his handsome exterior. However, let's take a look at how similar the Beast and Gaston actually are before Belle truly starts to fall for the Beast in the film. They're both vain, not so much in the original, but in the new remake, they make it much clearer how much effort the Beast places on his physical appearance. This is shown through how disgusted he is by his now appearance. They also mention his love of pretty things, which directly echoes Gaston's line.
Most beautiful girl in town.
I know, but...
That makes her the best. And don't I deserve the best?
Well, of course. I mean, you do, but I'm just...
They're selfish. Pretty obvious for Gaston, who cares little for what other people, including Belle, feel or want. But the Beast also seems to care little for the people around him. He is so wrapped up in his own struggle that he doesn't seem to care that the people of the castle were cursed as well, choosing not to pursue anyone rather than try to break the curse in any way he can for the people around him. Bullies? Again, obvious for Gaston. He is physically and emotionally abusive to LeFou in both versions. However, the Beast is also a brute.
Then go ahead and starve! If she doesn't eat with me, then she doesn't eat at all.
Cruel and a murderer? The Beast locked up Maurice and was planning to keep him there until he died for petty theft. I just want to make that clear. The Beast was perfectly willing to keep a man in prison until he died for stealing a rose from his garden or intruding into an unlocked castle for shelter. So why does it matter that they are mirror characters, not foils? Well, think of an actual mirror. A mirror shows everything that is reflected in it, but backwards. Gaston is in one side of the mirror, and Beast is on the other. They reflect everything about the other, but their stories are running backwards. In this story, Gaston starts as a handsome man, whose face hides his ugly personality, whereas the Beast starts as a terrifying creature whose ugliness hides his beauty. If the story is truly about mirror characters, as I believe it is, the story should be running backwards for the two characters. Gaston should end up as a beast, and the Beast ends up as a man. They flip places in the mirror. Not only does this ending not really make sense with the literary devices the writer is using, it is also a complete indictment of what the theme is of Beauty and the Beast. If Gaston is so similar to the Beast before he was cursed, then it stands to reason that if Gaston doesn't get a second chance, the Beast shouldn't either. I'm not saying that Gaston gets to skip the years of repentance and hardship that the Beast has gone through, but the second chance is getting to go through that hardship rather than getting killed off. I found out through my research that Linda Wolverton, who wrote the screenplay for the 1991 film, actually based Gaston on previous unsuccessful relationships. That did explain to me some of the framing that Gaston gets in the film. Not that Wolverton is being unfair to any past relationship she's been in, I have no right to make that judgment call, but more that this character is not really a character to her. Gaston is all of those people she's met. He is real rather than a part of this story. It also explains why the live-action version kind of softens their portrayal of Gaston. Gaston in the live-action film has a few moments that did make me consider whether or not Gaston is sympathetic. He absolutely approaches Belle wrong, but he does try to engage with her interests and support her against the headmaster. He is a character that serves a purpose in the story. This is why I was so disappointed that the live-action adaptations didn't go with the 1946 ending. It would have made sense for the character they had presented and reinforced the idea that everyone can have a second chance. They also had the Enchantress right in the scene. I'm fine. It's fine. I'll end on this note. One of Gaston's only redeeming qualities in either film is his interest in Belle. Not his love. His love, can you hear the air quotes? Is more about conquering rather than connection, but Gaston's interest in Belle is something else entirely. It's pointed out several times that it's strange Gaston is interested in Belle. Now remember the wording of the Enchantress's curse.
If he could learn to love another and earn her love in return by the time the last petal fell, then the spell would be broken. If not, he would be doomed to remain a beast for all time.
It would be poetic justice that Gaston, who really doesn't understand what love is, would have to learn what love is to break his spell, or remain a beast forever. Love is what makes us better, and I wish Gaston would have been given a chance to find that out.
It's not right for a woman to read. Soon she starts getting ideas and thinking.
Gaston, you are positively primeval.
Why, thank you, Belle.